Hi friends, Crystal from Homemaking on the Homestead here, and welcome to my channel. I have been doing a series on basic homemaking skills, the valuable, important homemaking skills that I think every homemaker needs to have. And I did 7 videos in that series, and I felt like I had kind of come to the end of the bigger picture of these are really important skills that every homemaker should know how to do and possess these skills. And sometimes these skills aren't taught, they're not passed down anymore, and so I guess it was kind of like, let's revive some of these homemaking skills and make sure that we are passing them on and exploring them in more depth. When I started out on the internet many years ago, I'm pretty sure I'm pushing 20 years or something like that I've been on the internet, and I had a website, The Family Homestead, which I no longer have. And my goal for that website was always to encourage, inspire, and help homemakers do a better job, save money, learn their skills, and, you know, just really try to be an inspiration if that, you know, for those women that are seeking that. As time went on, I moved from my website to my blog, and I continued with the same theme, blogging, for many years, and now I have moved to a YouTube channel. I guess I'm just kind of keeping up with the times, and my goal today is still the same. It's to inspire, to encourage, to give help in ways that will make you as a homemaker do a better job, enjoy your job more, find peace, find purpose. So in light of that, my channel is a lot about helpful tips, sharing my experiences and sharing my information and sharing things from my particular viewpoint, which might be different than other people's, but that's what I have to offer, is what my particular viewpoint on things are. And I enjoy working in themes, so it's very helpful to me if I have a theme that I can expand on. And so the homemaking skills was a great theme, and I'm going to kind of keep going on with that in a similar way, only I am going to be delving into things a little bit deeper, and I may jump around, so it may not always be the kitchen or frugalness or cleaning or that type of thing, depending on, sometimes I just base it off of what's going on in my life at the time. The one thing that came to my mind as I was getting ready a few days ago to do some grocery shopping, it had been at least a couple weeks since I'd been out, and I wanted to plan out some meals, and that got me thinking about meal planning and menu planning, and it's kind of a bigger topic to cover, and I just wanted to start with this video talking about meal planning and the basics of meal planning and how to plan a meal. If you put a young woman in a home that has no experience with these types of things or was not taught these things, where do you start and how do you plan a meal? I created what I found worked the best for me over the years as I was raising children, but I think you can't hardly talk about meal planning without talking about a little bit about nutrition. Because when we plan a meal, and we plan all our meals, breakfast, lunch, dinner, we want our meals to be as nutritious as possible. So what is a healthy meal? The opinion of what a healthy meal might be can vary very widely, from history over time, individual diets. Over the years, the USDA has put out advice on planning a healthy meal. I remember back in the 70s when I was in school in a health class, I learned the basic 4 food groups, and they were very rudimentary, very simple. These food guidelines had come out sometime in the 50s. The food groups were divided into 4 basic food groups: the milk group, the meat group, vegetable fruit group, bread and cereal group, and from that you were to pick out something so that each meal had one of those groups represented. Then as time went on, I believe in the later 70s, came out with the 7 basic food groups, and eventually they came out with the food pyramid, where you were supposed to have a lot of starches and breads and grains. That was supposed to make up the majority of your diet, all the way up to the top where it was protein and then fats. And you know, all of these things have morphed and changed over the years. They tell you, oh, limit your fat, don't limit your fat, do this, do that, have a high protein diet, have a low protein diet, high carb, low carb. And so it can actually be fairly confusing on, well, where do I start and what do I do? And basically, I feel that food is to nourish our bodies, and it should taste good. As one person I remember listening to one time said that, you know, if food is, it's possible for food to get to the point that it's so healthy that no one will eat it. So then you're not getting any health benefit from it anyway. But when I was raising children, the other thing that I had to consider was my budget, my food budget. And raising 8 children, they eat a lot of food. And so I developed kind of a menu planning system based on as food as close to the way it was created, as close to the way that God created it, and looking for each food to give me the maximum nutritional value as well as the best cost. So I broke my basics food groups down into a protein source, number one. So that could be meat, it could be chicken, it could be fish, it could be eggs, beans, legumes, a starch, which for me was grains other than potatoes. That was a starch, but other than that, it was usually grains like rice, oats, pasta, tortillas, like cornbread, cornmeal tortillas. And in each of those items, because oftentimes they could create a large portion of my meal, I tried to get whole grains. So brown rice was a big one, the oats, and like I said, the corn and those types of things. Even my pasta, I would try to buy whole grain pastas. Even though it was a large portion of our diet, I made it as as nutritious as possible. Then came, for me, vegetables. So I would try to pick the most brightly colored vegetables I could, because typically those have the most nutritional value. So you're looking at things like broccoli and carrots and beets and those types of brightly colored vegetables, and leafy greens. For salads, I like to have a lot of raw vegetables in our diet as well, so because that often gives you more nutritional value. And fruit. My fruits I tended to keep more towards breakfast and lunch meals and snacks. I believe that healthy fats are really good for your diet. I believe that anything in moderation is going to be okay. For the last 25 years, the only fats that I have used in our diet is butter, coconut oil, olive oil, and more recently in the last few years, I have added avocado oil. I don't try to limit it, how much of those fats I put in our diet, but I also don't cook excessively with a lot of fats. I don't do a lot of deep fried foods and things like that. About 3 years ago, I was having some medical issues and I had to have a lot of blood work, and my doctor said, do you want me to run your cholesterol levels? And despite the fact that that's been the only fats that we have eaten and I have never tried to moderate them, my cholesterol levels were absolutely perfect. I really think that our body needs those fats for healthy brain function and function of, you know, organs and things like that. Fats are important. And finally, dairy. So that's milk and cream cheese and cottage cheese and sour cream and regular just cheese in your food. So I would take these main groups and I would plan my meals around those things. Oftentimes I would start with a starch and I would say, you know, okay, well, we haven't had pasta for a while, so now what do I want to do with pasta? Okay, we're going to make spaghetti. And then I would add, at that point, probably some bread. I used to make all of our bread, and I always used whole wheat flour, so it would be whole wheat French bread, and I would use whole wheat noodles, make my sauce, and add the hamburger to it, and sprinkle a little Parmesan cheese and serve a salad. That simple meal would cover all of my food categories that I felt were important, and it would be very, very nutritional as well, in my opinion. The main thing that I like about how I have separated things and divided is that it's very flexible. If you're a vegetarian, then your protein sources could be beans and legumes and tofu and things like that. You can amp up the number of vegetables you have and the whole grains that you have. Eliminate the dairy. There's a lot of dairy substitutes out there. If you're doing something like low carb or keto, well, then you can eliminate or drastically reduce the starches in your diet and pick from the other groups. It really can be a flexible way to eat and makes planning a meal super easy. If you're looking for budget-friendly meals, which I believe meal planning needs to be a part of that as well, then for me, raising my 8 children and having to watch my budget, I focused a lot on beans. Beans are an incredibly good food for you. They are high in protein. They have all kinds of vitamins and minerals that your body needs. They're filling, and best of all, they're extremely inexpensive. So I would add that a lot to my meals and tend to look at meat more like flavoring. So if I made a huge big pot of chili, there would be a lot of beans and maybe 1 pound of hamburger that would go into it, which would give my chili that flavor, but it would be very frugal at the same time. And then with that chili, I might serve some cornbread and sprinkle a little cheese on top of the chili. So again, and a salad on the side. And again, I would end up with hitting all of my food groups that I felt were important and feeding my family a very quality meal. Always I have felt that that your meals should look appealing. They should look pretty. When you sit down, you know, your chili should look very nice with bits of tomatoes, red tomatoes in there, yellow cheese on the top, a nice green salad on the side, and a piece of yellow cornbread. You know, maybe it's the visual type part of me that likes that, but you know, to serve something like macaroni and cheese and fish sticks and corn for dinner isn't very appealing. There may be nothing wrong with that meal, but it isn't necessarily very appealing. So once you take all of those basic ideas and the basic categories that you want, the other thing that I would always do is put in, where do I want my meals to go? Do I want them to be Italian meals? Do I want them to be Mexican-based meals? Do I want them to be comfort foods, typical American foods, casseroles and soups and things like that? Do I want, what is my goal for this week? If we've eaten a lot of chicken meals or we've eaten a lot of Italian food, then I might say, okay, you know, let's do something with hamburger and let's go for some Mexican food. So then it might be tacos or enchiladas for a few days. Or I might just, it depends on how much variation and variety that you like in your food. If you feel like you have to eat something new every day, well then plan your meals according to that. And search for recipes and ideas that will accommodate what it is that you are desiring. So now that I have explained the basics of how to plan a meal, my next video is going to be on menu planning. Oftentimes I see menu planning begin by gather your recipes together, but I wanted to share first how to put a meal together. What components do you grab from to put that meal together, and then you can find recipes that assist you in that and plan your menu around that. I'm going to talk in the next video about different ways to menu plan, different methods that I've used over the years, and how those methods might benefit you and maybe give you some inspiration and ideas for your own menu planning. Alright everybody, that wraps up this video, and please don't forget to like this video, and if you haven't subscribed to my channel and you like this kind of content, would you please consider subscribing? That really helps me a lot too. And I will see you all next time. Bye-bye.